Yeah, spend a lot of money trying to heal trauma. And I mean, this is actually one of the most powerful things I've ever found. Hi, I'm Brittany Rochelle. I'm an anger alchemist, helping you to alchemize rage to live a magnificently melanated life. And today I'm sharing with you one of the most effective tools I've found from my own journey and personal investment in learning to heal and work with my trauma. So I did a lot of different therapies, talk therapy, also called cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT, for years. I also did EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I also did NET, which stands for neuro-emotional technique. I did EFT, emotional freedom tapping. I've worked with like shaman people who have read my feet and told me about my lineage through understanding where I hold tension in my feet. I've worked with Chinese medicine. I've done a lot of things, and I want to share with you one of the most effective of all of that. So this is something I actually learned from my EMDR therapist, and this is this concept of containment. And it is kind of what it sounds like, although oftentimes we can think of containment in like an oil spill or some sort of natural disaster, and the number one thing that you try to do beyond saving human life is to then contain the situation. And it's kind of similar in how it works for your own social, emotional, mental health around how you work with trauma. And so I do a lot about trauma. You might be asking, you're an anger alchemist. Why do you talk so much about trauma? But for me, because I work exclusively with Black and brown people, because I'm out here for the people, I believe that living in a world that is fundamentally built on your own oppression and reminds you in ways big and small on a regular basis that this world is not created for you, that in and of itself is a form of trauma. And it's actually called PTSD, which is persistent traumatic stressful environments, which so many of us, I would say all of us, live in some form or fashion. So understanding as much as we can and learning how to heal and process our own trauma is actually one of the most useful things that you need in order to alchemize rage, anger, or really anything. So let me tell you a little bit more about what containment is or how I use it. One of my absolute favorite ways to contain is to use an imaginary containment strategy. So this can really be any container, something that you can close. So sometimes I think of this as like a pot with a lid on it, or a Pyrex container, because they have like the best lids, like the snap-on lids. It can be a safe where you can put things in and then close it. Really a bag with like a string around it and tie it. Anything really that resonates with you is absolutely perfect. So often many of us will go back into traumatic or unhelpful experiences, feelings, memories. And one of the best tools that we can learn is how to contain those. It's so important to understand that working with trauma is not going to be, as I thought it was, something that we do a lot of work on and then it'd be over and done and we'd never ever have to deal with it again. For so many of us, we don't want to, and often, quite frankly, aren't even able to stop our entire lives, work on all of our issues, and then go back to our lives. We often are doing this work while we're living, while we're dating, while we're being in relationship, while we're raising children, and being able to know how to quickly and easily contain anything that is maybe overwhelming or too much for us at that particular moment is so important. So I like to think of whatever challenging emotion or memory that I'm working on that I don't have the time or space to continue to work with right now as like a cookie sheet, and then I just scrape everything down with the spatula, because I don't even think I've done this before, but essentially where you're like moving all of the feelings, all of the emotions and the energy and the memories and pouring it down into this container. And so if we use this pot, it's like filling it all up with all of these memories and all of these challenging emotions that we're not going to deal with right now. And we consciously choose to not deal with them right now. And so in my example, I pour it all into the pot, I put the lid on it, make sure it's on like tight, and then I put it in the refrigerator in my mind, like deep in the back of the refrigerator. So if you like this content and you want to learn more from my own experience, including my over $20,000 investment, but also my 14 years of somatic training, I invite you to check out my absolutely free ebook called Melanin, a Reclamation. And this is where I share way more free and easy, accessible tools if you're interested. And so if you do want to come back and work with some of these memories, I absolutely encourage you to find a great licensed therapist or work with a trauma-informed somatic coach, which I am. And if you're interested, you can set up a complimentary consultation with me where we can talk a little bit more about your own situation and what you'd like to get out of this. Either way, practice containment. It's so incredibly useful, and it's such a powerful free tool that I think everyone should have access to. So do it and let me know how it goes.